Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, got a repair job here. Got to put some bearings into the disc gangs here on the chisel plow. However, before I can work on it, when I ran over to pick the thing up at my cousin's place, I backed up to it, and when I got out and walked down back here, I saw a bunch of wasps flying around. Well, you can probably guess. They've got a wasp nest inside the clevis because that's a reversible hitch. And so if you flip it over, it'll go around the regular drawbar, and or like it is right now, you just have one single piece. Well, they got a wasp nest down inside that clevis piece. They're coming up and out of that hitch pin hole because I bumped it with the drawbar. I can tell you one thing, I've never been more careful about getting something hooked on. As long as it didn't shake them up or anything, they didn't so far I've not gotten stung. So I grabbed my welding jacket, threw my old floppy hat on, and got my leather gloves here. I don't exactly feel like getting bit. So I'll try and set you up here. I've heard, I don't have any raid, but I've heard that supposedly WD-40 takes them down. I guess we'll see how true that is. So I'll see here if I can set the camera up. Okay, I'm going to set y'all right here on the drawbar. In fact, you probably can't see it on camera, but I see two looking out of there looking at me right now. And they're probably not very happy. Trick works, I don't know. Well, there goes one on the ground. I see one down in there swimming around practically. If I could come up from below, it'd be a whole lot better. Came one about that hitch hole. There he is on top of the... Yep, there he goes. Yep, there's another one. Soak him down. That one right there, I can see it, man. He's trying his best to sting that hydraulic hose. Well, there's that one on the ground. Well, you know what? WD-40 works pretty good to help take them things down. That killed those three. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3 over there. And I know when I hooked on, there's a pack of them around through there. I just don't want to bring them inside the shed. I guess that would make for good YouTube content. Farmer gets chased by wasp. Up there came another one. Right out of that hitch hole. And there's another one down there. Well, I got 4 on the ground. Right there's number 5. Let's see if I can come up. Okay, yeah, there we are. That cleaned them up anyway. Looks like I may see one down inside there. He's gone. So, well, I think that helped take care of the wasp problem. Now, I can get on to more important things. Got a disc gang bearing out right down through there, so I'll bring you along. Hopefully no more wasps flying around. Okay, well, I gotta drop this disc gang down out of here. I pulled back inside the shed. Well, you know what? That worked pretty good. So, if you don't have Raid, just use a can of WD. Now, it's not gonna spray near as far. You can kind of see, yeah, down underneath there, you see that? That was that old nest. So I don't see anything else on it, so we're good to go on that, I hope. Yeah, that old WD worked great. But, okay, yep, right there you can see the old bearing races on each side. So that bearing is fried. So let's see here. It's a round flange type bearing held in. Looks like by 4. Yeah, I guess it's held by 3 bolts right here. So I'll get the forklift and come up underneath it. Now we're ready to drop it out of there. All right, got my 3/4 inch. Get these here loosened up. I've already got the, there we go. Already got the forklift pulled up underneath here. Now this does seem to be a lot easier to actually pull into and put the forklift under compared to a disc, because it's got straight blades, whereas a disc has dished. A little bit more tricky to get on. Okay, then got one right down there on that bottom part. If I can get my foot on the wrench and shove it down. There we go. So I guess the WD on the can stands for Wasp Destroyer. So that works pretty good. Or I guess maybe Wasp Destroyer 40 times over. All right, well, I gotta get these, well, I'll leave that one kind of on there somewhat, but I see that's not an actual bolt hole, it's just a cutout. Not too sure how well you can see that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's just a cutout here in the frame that the bolt goes into. Get this set back up top here. Gotta finish getting these loosened up, and then I'll be ready to jump over to the other side. Okay, I got the bolts dropped out on both bearing sets, so let's see if we can drop that down out of there. Now, I'm not sure if it'll go down, or I may have to end up taking out all these scrapers. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, the scrapers are not letting it fall out. So now I gotta grab my impact and go across, take all them dumb things off. Okay, get you pointing down there. Okay, take that all out. Set the impact off the side. There we go. Get them dropped off. In fact, I can actually just leave those bolts in there, in that tube. But, about like working with a disc. You almost generally always got to take and drop the scraper bars out. That way, you got room to work. So, well, that's one. I just got to go across here and drop the rest of them off. And then hopefully we'll be ready to drop out of there. All right, got all those scrapers dropped down out there. I just took them down, set them right there on the floor behind the thing so that'll work. Now it should drop down out of there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's got dropped down out of there. Perfect. Okay, here's the new bearings. Now the old ones are round. These here are square, but they got slotted holes. And I think they'll work. There's what it looks like. And so you get that down there, get everything lined up. We'll try to anyway. I think it'll work. Especially with it having those notched holes like that. See if I can sit you up top here. Yeah, there we go. Got to get the pry bar and get that cotter key pried up. Okay, now I can grab my pliers. All right, we'll get that. Well, I thought anyway. If you hear some background music, I'm actually on a hold on a phone call. That's my phone. Well, I don't want to go out there very easy. That dumb cotter key don't exactly want to come out too easy. Ah, there we go. Finally. All right, well, that takes a big 2 5/16 socket. Now my 1-inch drive sockets actually top out at 2-inch, and so I had to go with my converter here, going from 1-inch down to 3/4 because I've got sockets going on up to 2.5. That's a good converter though. It's an impact converter, a Carlisle, and here's some time ago on our one disc, it that partner put that big impact to the max, 3,000 foot-pounds, and that thing held. So I'm going to get it and we'll see what happens. Okay, let's get the old big dog here hooked up. Now I'll sit on the floor and see what happens. Well, it's coming slowly. Finally. Well, it looks like I need to recharge up the batteries on this thing, but man, that was on there good and tight. Wow. Okay, got the little spacers. Now we're ready to start dropping blades off. Okay, just going to start taking all the blades here off. Go ahead and shut that forklift back down. Just going to take things off the way I, well, lay them down the way I take them off. However, I don't think they're necessarily directional. I can tell you one that's got some weight to it compared to a disc. About double the amount of weight. Okay, there's one bearing. And same thing, I don't think these two halves are directional either. But just to be on the safe side, I'll take them off in order. And that bearing there, it's got, oh yeah, I can feel play in it. Well, it's ready for the scrap yard. Well, I wish it was that easy. All right, got down here the other bearing. Well, there's the old race. Get that popped off there. Don't want to come off very easy. Nah, I'll get here in a little bit. There's the flange piece, which almost, I couldn't remember. Almost looks like you separate that and put the bearing inside. Hopefully those other bearings will line up, well, everything will line up on those. We'll find out. It's 1.5 inch bore. There's the center part. And there's the other half, the grease seal. Alrighty, got the new bearing. And when you're looking at it, they got to go on where the grease zerk faces toward the outside. And so this one here, the grease zerk will face down. On the other bearing, the grease zerk will face up. Well, by that time I have this thing laid back over. Like that. Alright, got it back on the forklift. Like I showed you on the other end, the grease zerk faces out. This is going to go like that. Okay, there we got it. And looks like we got a little bit of slack that needs to be taken up. Oh. Well, you know what? That might not work. because those bearings right there are a little bit thicker. That bearing's thinner. Because this here's a flange bearing. Well, I may have to make a phone call and talk to the guy where I got these at and see what he says. Alright guys, well, I'm stopped right now on this gang. Sure enough, those are not going to work. They're too thick. And so there's the flanges, because it's just a simple round bearing with a flange. And so hopefully tomorrow they'll be sending the right bearing over, and we'll just take and do a quick swap out. So I'm going to set that gang, well, I'll take this gang back apart and set back over beside that bean head. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop this gang out and get it taken apart. And so I'll bring you back in when I've got the new bearings and be ready to put back together again. All right, what's the next day? Got the right bearings. I've already dropped out the left-hand gang over here and put it back in. It's a good thing I did too, because even those bearings were getting kind of seized up. So we'll go ahead and put the bearings in here. Like I said, it's just a simple flange bearing. Get you set up that, we can see. Now these are a greasable bearing. So right there's the grease circ coming in. And there's a little grease. The old ones actually had a grease groove going around. This here has a little grease hole. However, I'll go ahead and line it up. But I don't grease them, because all you end up doing is blowing the grease seal out. That lets dirt in. So put this back on, just like that. Leave that kind of loose, that way you can work it around on the hanger. Alright, now ready to go on to the draw bolt. There we go, here's that one. Now we'll grab the other half spacer, get it dropped on. There's that one. Alright, I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to do the other bearing, because now I just got to put blades and spacers into it. We'll be good to go. Alright, got the half spacer on. Now we're ready for the next bearing. Put it back down there. Same thing. Okay, we'll go ahead and put that bearing on. And that's why you go ahead and put that bolt through, that way it holds that flange together. And ready for the next half. We'll see if I can do this one-handed. Try and get the blade set up there. There we go. Okay, got the top bolt on, or the top blade. Threw a little never sees here on the threads. That'll work. Now I'm not going to take and hammer this down with the impact until I actually get it hung back on the chisel. And what that does, it allows for a little bit of flex with those bearings. Put a big washer on. It allows for a little bit of flex on those bearings to be able to seat in place, then tighten it. And we'll take and put just a little bit right there on the ring of that big castle nut. That way when you tighten it down, it's not going down steel on steel and stops. You can hammer it down good and tight. So we'll spin that down by hand. About like that. Okay, that'll work. Now I'll just take and tip this thing over and it'll be ready to pick up with the forklift. Okay, now the fun job is getting these bearings lined up with these bolt notches here on that hanger. Okay, trying to get that raised up in there is easier said than done. Right there we're clear off. Okay, well I finally got this thing hung up in here. And so it's pretty basic, just a lot of wiggling and lining up and trying to get the things to fall in place, get these bolt, well they're not a hole, it's a notch. Get them notches lined up. And so now I'm ready to just take and put my 3/4 inch wrench on and start tightening. Once I get those tightened up, grab the big impact here and hammer that big castle nut back down. That's why I leave that loose. That way everything kind of flex back and forth, get it up in there, tighten it down, then hammer that big draw bolt back down good and tight again. Okay, getting these here all tightened up on the bearing flanges. It's best off if you have a gear wrench to do this. There we go. But I'm definitely glad I went ahead and dropped out the left hand gang as well, because those bearings were getting seized up. So this just gets all 4 bearings put back into it, and that way we're good to go. And the blades, they still got some life left in them, so that's why I didn't change those either. Okay, now I'm ready to take and tighten up the big gang nut. Okay, that's got it. I had to kind of adjust it that way it'd get lined up with that cotter key hole. But we're lined up now, and now we're good to go. Guys, Wes got this chisel power ready to roll again for this fall. So I'm going to call this an end the video. So take care. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.